Hey, it's Nick Tuminello here. I'm going to show you my top exercise for not only getting more extensibility, flexibility, and mobility here in the anterior shoulder pec region, which we're always stretching with the wall stretches, but also strength and activation of the posterior shoulder. And this is going to reinvent how you either do rear delt flies or shoulder Ys or shoulder Ts, because it gets both done at the same time. One side stretches while the other side activates, and the action of both makes the other one better. Let me show you how it's done, and then we'll explain some details. You're going to see my arm in this position, 90-90, and I'm going to lay it on the bench. So I'm getting my stretch right here on the bench, like that, right? So my arm is here, 90-90. From there, that's where I grab this and I do my rear delt fly. Or I could do my L's. Now, right now that's what I have resting on the bench. If that's too much tension on that stretch right there, I just slide closer to the bench and have the bench resting there, which creates less tension on the stretch while I'm doing the activity. Why I really like this is because, I don't need the dumbbell here for a second, is because as soon as I'm hanging here now, my weight is on that, and as I do this, what does this motion do? It wants to drive me that way, which drives me into the stretch, right? And then by being here, it stops me from swinging and cheating. So it gives me all the good things that I want. If you're worried about range of motion, you're like, oh, well, Nick, you're so close to the floor, you can't bring your arm down. Just bend your elbow. All right, so it's the same motion at the shoulder. You can just use more weight because you're bringing the weight closer to your shoulder joint. So instead of using a 5-pound dumbbell, you use a 10-pound dumbbell. But the force across tissues is the exact same on the posterior shoulder musculature, because it's hardest when your arm is out to the side, and it's easiest when your arm is underneath your torso. So you get both done at the exact same time, each making the other better. I like stretching under load without putting the shoulder at risk, which is what's happening here. I'm stretching under load without putting the shoulder at risk because the whole arm is being supported. Because in the research, we know that stretching putting force across tissues while they're on length, which is an RDL is a great example of a hamstring stretch under load, that creates what we would call functional flexibility. It adds sarcomeres, so it actually makes your muscles more flexible, changes them physiologically, versus static stretching, which just changes your tolerance to stretch. Well-researched topic. So you can do a shoulder Y with the other arm, a shoulder T, a rear delt fly, your shoulder L's, whatever you'd like with the other arm, while one side stretches, and then you just switch sides. Let me show you how it's done again. I'll show you with the stability ball. I'm a big fan of doing this with a stability ball because you have variations on the height of the ball based on the person, and you don't need a bench. It's easier to move the stability ball around. So let me try to give you a slightly different angle. So I just am here. I get in my position with my arm. So I'm like that, 90-90. Now my weight's there. And I do my rear delt fly, or depending, I'll do my L's. I can do just a body weight shoulder T. And by the way, the range of motion isn't a problem anyway, because this is where the money's made in this range of motion. Down here, you're not doing anything anyway. That is a Nick Tuminello special. My #1 exercise for a shoulder. You could call it stability, mobility, strength, all of the above. It gets you a lot done in one shot, which is why I developed it and why it's my favorite.